6 o'clock. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. I. Indivisible, with justice. Thank you. Okay, are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Make a motion, we accept the October 22nd, 2024 agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The public participation policy applies to all selectmen meetings. A copy of this is in the back of each agenda posted outside this meeting room and on the website. The town clerk tax collector's office will be closed on Tuesday, November 5th, as the staff will be attending the state general and presidential election held at Prospect Mountain High School from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The office will reopen at noon on Wednesday, November 6th. Public input. Seeing no one here, we will close to the public input. No appointments this evening.
No, Mr. Chairman.
We'll go right to new business. Cemetery Expendable Trust Fund Withdrawal Mapping Software.
Afternoons. Evening. Evening, afternoon.
And working with the cemeteries and getting up to speed on how the cemeteries here function. Cemeteries are something that I haven't really had to deal with in other towns, so I'm learning, coming along, but looking through the maps and what we have and the information. I think it would be handy to have a software to log all this stuff. And what this Chronicle does is they come through and they take drone footage of the whole overhead area. And they go through and they GPS and survey all the stones and take pictures of those as well. And put those in a searchable format to us as well as to the public. People can actually go on there, put a link on our website to access this. People can go on there and find their own relatives and get actually GPS turn by turn directions right to the stone within the cemetery. But it'll also help us coordinate what's in the cemetery already as far as where people are buried and everything else for the future. And it is scalable for like the new Riverside expansion. We can scale it up and we can also add on Old Riverside. I just did the new Riverside where we're currently working. That's where the most activity is going on. So I mean, that's where we're, it would be the most useful for us right now.
Sure.
It does include the columbarium.
I saw that.
Yeah. And this CTC Expendable Trust is not the perpetual care. It is a different fund that was to the trustees. And when the trustees disbanded, they left the authority to the select board.
Once you purchase and get the expanded program and everything is mapped.
Yeah.
And everything done, what is the cost of the upkeep each year?
It was about $1,400 for the yearly subscription. That initial $7,830 does cover the first year's subscription as well. So that's all the GPS pictures, data logging, putting everything in a file and getting us on the website and everything else in the first year's subscription. Isn't that $7,830?
Did you see how much extra it would be for the older cemetery?
I didn't put that all together yet. No. That cemetery is pretty good size, so it would be fairly costly.
Would the maintenance charge increase with additional cemetery?
Yeah, I'm sure it would scale up. Yeah.
And where would the $1,400 a year, the maintenance come out of? Would it come out of this fund or would it come out of the
No,
cemetery?
working into the cemetery operating budget.
Okay. Now, when I was reading in here, now, if at any time either party decides to terminate the contract, the information that is purchased and set up stays with the town?
Correct. Yeah, so if for any reason we decide, you know what, we're done with this, it's not working out for us, it's not what we thought it was. If we do not renew our contract, they give us all the information they collected in a usable format for us. They put it on like a Microsoft Excel
Mhm.
style, so you can retain all those records and everything else in one spot. It's not, they don't just throw it away on you.
Mhm. How, no,
How often do they update the drone of the overhead footage for updated stones and stuff? Do they do that? Is that, we have to pay for that extra? Like if 5 years down the road, they wanted updated pictures of overhead?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't see that in there. I honestly don't have an answer for you on that. I know like the inputs and the pictures and everything else is something that we can put in, but yeah, the overhead drone footage.
Oh, so you can upload pictures
Yeah,
too?
yeah, so it's interactive, so
that
we
makes
can,
more
put information into it as well, and that also includes all the training to train interface with this software.
I was gonna say the overhead shouldn't change, it'd just be more people. More you add it, but if you can add.
I didn't
more,
know if they could add
Yeah.
photos, that's why I was.
Yeah, yeah, so like the
Yeah, it was good.
headstones and stuff and then the records, yeah.
Is it something they can use? Is it a software program they'll be able to use on the laptops?
Yeah.
Okay.
now this is something that's also says in here that's basically people friendly to have an app on their phone or something to.
Yeah, so people can access it on the web browser, so a lot of stuff you can access that on your phone too, and you can, yeah, get GPS
Get the
directions. to
GPS
your-
direction.
The headstone you're looking for.
That's
Yeah,
pretty handy.
yeah.
Are there a lot of other towns in the state that use this too?
There was quite a few.
good.
Me and Becky attended a seminar the other day, and there was actually quite a bit of people that had used it, and they had pretty good reviews about it. They
Mhm.
seemed to be happy. It was easy to use. Yeah.
It's definitely coming in the 21st.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely cool. So this was out of the expendable trust fund,
Yeah.
which has a balance of $45,000.
So it has a balance of, I didn't put it on here, I'm sorry, it has a balance of 300 and something $1,000, but from my understanding, you're only allowed to expend
That's the
interest. So the
This is the interest.
the interest is 45.
Okay,
I think this is an incredible idea, but I would be genuinely curious as to get this one obviously operational, but see how much it would be. I mean, that's kind of a neat thing to have.
I think, I was gonna suggest the same thing, is that I think,
this
honestly,
is
I think
good.
there might be a little pushback from the community if they find out some loved ones have family members in the old cemetery versus the new cemetery, and having that same ability, I think, would come in handy. So I would like to see what, not discounting this proposal, but I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think this is.
we should.
I think
research
this
that.
is gonna be a
I
vital
think it's
resource.
fine.
It's awesome. I think it's
Yeah.
perfect, but I think we should seriously consider what you just said.
Yeah.
The interest in material.
I agree.
Just for the ease of it. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll have it at the end. We pay this startup now,
Yeah.
and then we'll have it at the end anyway. If we decide to terminate the contract, it's still.
Mhm.
And that one's never changed. That one's is what it is.
How long would this take to set up if this was?
So I think there was a couple month lead time by the time they actually get out here, do the drone footage.
The
and then
mapping.
Go through and map out all the
Mhm.
spots is gonna be pretty.
They be able to do it
They have
before.
they have a page in here that talks about an 8-month
Yeah,
duration.
So it's something we start in the spring, probably.
I'm not sure if they come out, as long as they're not covered in snow, if they're
Hmm.
gonna work through it or not.
Mhm.
Have to talk back to the sales rep. As far as how they work with the weather, whether they get everything they can done until the ground freezes or gets covered with snow and pick back up in the spring.
I think this is good. I didn't even know this existed. It was pretty.
Did you know, do you know that what their background is? They've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly how many years they've been doing it, but it seems that they have been around for quite a while. Like I said, there was quite a bit of other towns that were utilizing this chronicle in their cemeteries as well.
And this is wider than just New Hampshire.
Yes, yeah.
I think it's very helpful.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
So do we want to make a motion to do this now or wait till we do both?
I think we could probably do them in separate contract,
Yeah.
where this one's
Separate
already
contracts?
drafted and.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Rolling and.
Except this one, yeah.
I'll make a motion. We accept the proposal for the mapping, for the Chronicle digital mapping and database for the new Riverside Cemetery, expending $7,830 from the CTC Expendable Trust, which has an interest balance of $45,000.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We probably should mention the name of the company we're gonna
I did.
award it. The
Chronicle.
Yep, he did say it.
Chronicle.
Chronicle.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
CTC expand. Okay. Old business, 2024 department head budget proposals.
Beth, I don't know if, before you get into, the solid waste budget in the truck. One of the things I forgot to do the last time we were up here is we never talked about the solid waste revolving, recycling. Budget, if you don't mind going to recycling. This is one of those budgets where it's out of the revolving account, so this is a projected budget, to fund the solid waste, but ultimately it's coming out of the recycling revolving account and being self-funded. So this doesn't affect taxation moving forward on the budget. It's kind of like the ambulance revolving fund.
What do we got for a number?
It's 4-8,000.
Yeah.
And the request went down almost $20,000, so you should be happy with it.
It's less, yeah. Yeah. This one went down.
I didn't realize it until I turned the page.
Yeah, that's quite a drop.
From wages.
Yep. He's a couple things went up. Tired of solid waste thing.
The equipment maintenance went up a little.
They own the mower, I think.
Mhm. And it's on the bailiff.
Various items like tires, is
Yeah.
that due to a higher disposal charge by our waste company?
Yes, yeah, we're ultimately, held to what we gotta pay to get rid of them too as well, so. We do recycle tires, but it's not, we don't make money on them. What we give back is kind of like they cut it off the top. We still end up paying, but we get a little bit back,
Yeah.
To help offset the cost.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just a
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the recycling revolving fund budget for 2025 in the amount of $83,402 as listed.
second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
So we can go to budget 4312, Department of Public Works. If you remember when we went through this, when we covered the budget the first time,
Mhm.
there was the discussion about the roll-off truck and moving forward with a lease on a new truck, handling our own transportation and where that would be funded out of transportation costs. So that memo that you have in your books, Seth is here to kind of elaborate more on that and show you, try to answer some of the questions that had came up last time
Mhm.
in making the decision. Go ahead, Seth.
So, yeah, in the last meeting there, I had mentioned that we were waiting to meet with, Pete LaChapelle of Waste Management. Scott and I did meet with him to go over, proposed contract for 26. It would be another 7-year contract. Is proposed, our contract ends December 31st of 25, so we need to look for a contract ultimately either way, whether we buy a truck or whether we don't buy a truck. If we do purchase a truck, we'll need to get a disposal contract. In that disposal contract, that we talked with Pete about, also did leave in the fact of backup hauling in case the truck is down or falls behind. In the back of that packet there was a copy of the proposed contract. Showing, what those will look like. It's due to take a pretty good hike. We are at the end of a 7-year contract and the beginning of that 7-year contract, and they didn't plan for COVID. So. Skipped over that.
Oh, this is part of it. So that's the real one.
So currently for 25, we're looking for.
Get this contract pricing is out.
Currently for 25, we're looking at paying. Probably got my things in. For disposal of MSW, which is your household trash, $83.51 a ton. C&D, which is wood, debris, bricks, wood with sheetrock stuck to it, anything, construction and demolition debris, $90.46 a ton. And the glass is $40.60 a ton. Scott does a good job of keeping the glass separated down there. He has its own bin that it goes, smash it up with the rock. That way we're only paying $40.60 to get rid of that. If we was contaminated, it'd be $139. For 25, regardless of whether we pick up a truck or not, Waste Management has agreed to hold the 25 price of $83.51 for MSW in demo and bulky. Bulky also falls under demo. So that's like bulky would be like mattresses, chairs, things that are big but not heavy. The new contract starting in 26 would see that jump to $100 a ton for MSW, demo and bulky. So before they had it broken down into MSW, C&D, which is bulky, demo, same thing. In 26, it would all be one flat rate. It's gonna be $100 a ton to get rid of it. And with a 5% increase every year after that. So that's gonna be the price for disposal, whether we have a truck or not.
Okay.
Signing the contract would just be whether they're gonna haul it or we're gonna haul it. Again, if we sign a contract that we're gonna haul it, there still will be a backup haul rate. And that backup haul rate in there of $455 would be the new haul rate for 26 and beyond. So we would be going from the $249.34 that we're paying for 25 per haul to $455 and 26 per haul. With the same 5% increase every year after that. So it's just.
What's that
every year.
calculate out a year at the 455?
455. I didn't do it at the end of it. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. But it's,
In
Not
your
quite the
memo,
book.
you're talking 205. I mean, 208.
208, yeah,
Eight.
so for 26 to pay for just transportation alone,
there we go.
it would be 208,000, just, 884 in just transportation costs. That's not the disposal at all. That's just the transportation.
It is. We'll wait.
All right, well,
Have you looked into other resources?
I have reached out to Casella as well, because they're kind of the next one that's closest to us. They have not got back to me yet on any kind of numbers or anything at all. I haven't heard from them at all.
where do you have to
I
haul
did
that?
get an email saying that we received your request. We'll be with you shortly. And that's.
Where's their station?
Belmont. It's
Okay.
kind of like a transfer station for transfer station.
Okay,
I
yeah.
believe it all ends up in Bethlehem.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Cause I didn't think they had a Well, like Waste Management does. So they take, because I did see their trucks up there in Bethlehem when we were dumping
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if that's, so that's their main one is they take it all the way up to.
Yeah. As far as I understand, yeah. That's so their facility down here is kind of like a satellite facility.
Yeah.
They dump it and haul it somewhere else.
And
There's
if
no
you-
one else that's close, I assume.
No one else that's really close, no. No, it would end up Rochester is the closest. Rochester is the closest, yeah.
And when do you have to sign a contract for this year, which you said that they would uphold 2025 with the
25's pricing, yeah, so,
25's price?
so we would sign ultimately in 25 for the contract for 26, but they would hold our prices the same in 25.
Okay.
Next one is gonna be for another 7 years.
Another 7 years. And Waste Management, he did tell me today, as well, that Waste Management is only permitted for the next 10 years. They're obviously gonna try and get another permit and
Mhm.
utilize other areas they have, but it was just something he did tell me, so I figured it was a fun fact.
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah.
They're filling up.
They're filling up. They're
Yeah.
gonna be looking for a new place to go.
So, yeah, you have to have a contract to haul in there now. You can't just go up off the street, so.
This is gonna become a big problem.
It is, this is probably still the best bet, but it'd be nice to hear back from
Yeah.
Casella. just to
Yes.
See, but I bet you they're gonna have more truck rates because they gotta haul.
They have to haul it as well,
Yeah.
so I would be interested to see what they actually come back with.
And how many trips, I know I have it in my notes on my other binder, but how many trips a week would this have to? If we purchase a truck, how many trips a week would that truck be making?
Roughly 12, you know,
12.
some weeks it'd be a couple more, some weeks it'd be a couple less, all depending on demand, yeah. But it'd be 12. right?
Is that feasible for one guy?
It is, I feel like it is. Again, that's also why I did put on there for that truck to be a tri-axle though, that if in case the usage does increase, that truck will be capable of hauling a pup trailer. So you could haul 2 down at once.
So the truck will haul, we don't have to purchase any containers, anything like that, and we're gonna use what we have with the truck.
So, Scott told me he has 2 30-yarders, I believe, up there that are Waste Management's, and on the bottom of that contract, another part of it is that we cannot haul any
Right,
Waste
I
Management.
read
only
that.
saw that.
I
containers.
saw that.
So, I would probably just look to add 2 more open top dumpsters and make them 40-yarders and just so everything's the same. But yeah, other than that, we do have enough dumpsters currently.
So you said it'd be 12 trips a week.
Yeah.
How many is that per day that they can make?
You figure about an hour down, hour back, and being down there, you can be anywhere from a half an hour to 3. It all depends.
You could easily probably do 2 loads a day.
2 loads a
Yeah.
day.
And that's
was-
if
that's
worst case scenario.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did a little kind of backdoor math on this and I'm showing like over 400 hauls per year.
Yeah,
But you're talking about 144 per year, or no, it was 12 per week?
12 per week.
12 per
Oh,
week.
that's where,
12 per week.
that's where my math screwed up on that one. Okay.
yeah.
And whoever would be driving, that would be a new hire?
So yeah, combining the 3 positions, the 3 part-time, not short time. 3 part-time.
Hopefully not
positions.
short.
Yeah. 3 part-time positions gave us the ultimate wage of 52,000. That would be for the haul. That would mean that ultimately give you somewhere around $25 an hour. And speaking with finance today, they had the benefits and everything else already in for the admin wages.
Yeah, so just to clarify, I want to make sure everybody, so what he's talking about, to answer your question, is we're not adding a new position. They're merging 3 that are already in the default budget that we didn't hire out because we're having a hard time finding seasonal employees. So they're gonna combine it all to utilize that as one full-time position. And on the funding, Laura did do the math with Seth. Even today, they were going over to calculate everything to make sure that it was all the wages and the benefits were covered
Yeah.
based on what we had for current funding.
Do you think you're gonna get a CDL licensed guy for $25 an hour?
Have them for 22,
Yeah.
the highway.
Don't say that out loud.
Yeah,
We might have to.
Did Waste Management have any background information or discuss why they had such a severe jump? in rates?
Just the rest of the world, the price of fuel, the price of everything's gone crazy. And luckily at the time we were in a contract. That's why I was saying, I'm sure at the beginning of that 7-year contract, they didn't plan for COVID and
No,
everything else
okay.
that's gone on. So,
It's only gonna keep
yeah,
getting worse as time goes on.
we were in a good spot for a while. And now unfortunately we have to get back into the market and it's not as good.
One of the questions I had asked you last week, and it was on the scales themselves.
Yep.
Coming in.
Yep.
And what the amount of the scales actually were bringing in and where those funds were being applied.
There was a big chart there. Let me switch gears here.
I didn't see where.
So the totals,
Yes.
the totals column, which comes.
Okay. That's a.
Can't believe I'm saying. Just a print. is bigger.
I'm at that age now.
What's that?
I'm at that age where I need the print to be bigger.
Be doing these pretty soon.
Yeah.
I don't wear them all day long, but. So this is a total of all together, but that's not the scale.
Correct.
This is showing everything,
Oh, this.
aluminum cans, cardboard,
Yeah.
mixed paper, batteries, appliances, shingles, plastic, and so on down the line. That's what that is. What I was wondering is.
Yep.
How we apply all the scale demo that comes in every day.
Yep.
That monies that comes in from the scale itself.
Yep.
Is that applied to the containers or how that's dispersed?
Yeah. So.
And what that amount is weekly, monthly, yearly?
Yeah. Okay, so just some year to dates and actually I'm noticing on here, from this one to the numbers I have, there is on some of them, one more round of payments that's gone out. So the numbers I give you are gonna be off by 1,000 because one transaction's gone through from the time I put this together. So in wood, the wood that's coming across the scale is the clean recyclable wood, which goes in the C&D dumpster. We've taken in 40,592. Shingles, we've taken in 15,782. So just use that one as a thing. If you look in this big sheet here at the bottom, shingle says 16,148. That just means that we've got another check deposited from the time that I got the
Okay.
paper here.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. For those, for the,
Wood days.
for what we've paid to go out of those items there, we've paid 22,268 out, leaving us 34,105, which goes into the revolving fund and
Okay.
then gets distributed in there to pay for the other things that we don't make money on, like the glass
Mhm.
that we're paying to recycling, but we're paying money to get rid of it. The tin cans, which again, the tin cans, not the aluminum cans, the tin cans, we're still have to pay to get rid of them because they're not baled, they're not worth that much. So that goes in there to help offset the cost of those things as well. Like the stuff like the bulky, those aren't weighed, like couches, stuffed furniture, they have their own line.
Mhm.
Those items, because they're just big, they don't take up a lot of weight, but they're big. Those are charged by item. So we have like a standardized list of a couch is this, a king mattress is this.
Like your appliances, like refrigerators and
Correct.
things like that.
Yeah.
That's a set price.
Yeah, it's pretty standard.
But the
standard price
scales
for
is
a-
what I was concerned, in everything all combined.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
we have everything on hand, what that was actually bringing in.
yeah.
So you're saying $34,000.
It's gone into the.
It's gone into the
The revolving, yes, from the scale. Yeah, after it's paid to get rid of
Mhm.
those items.
Thank you.
And yeah,
Are we in the right ballpark as far as what we charge?
yes, I believe so. Yeah, currently, I mean, as this 5% starts being enacted, we're probably, at some point, we're probably gonna have to reassess that. Currently,
Well, I was thinking more in terms of what nearby pounds charge.
Yeah, from what I've seen, 10 cents a pound is much right about where.
Thank you.
So this budget has seen an increase of $181,000, is that correct?
Yes, I'm sorry.
181,632, somewhere in there?
Yep.
Well, I was talking about solid waste. Yeah, solid waste increase. Yep, that's more, right?
Yeah.
That's got nothing to do with the proposal for the.
Yeah, and the bulk of that is just the contractual increases on the waste disposal, which the waste disposal is, that's not recycling, that's not anything, it's just, that's, like I said, that's just the household trash.
Okay.
MSW.
What this would do, so
Mhm.
technically the proposal would be if the board is in agreement to the 5-year lease of a truck,
Mhm.
we still would have to go out and bid a truck. But
Right,
yeah.
we have a good dollar amount that they should be falling in.
Mhm.
What we would do in the budget is he's proposing to take the money for that lease out of the waste transportation, the disposal, or waste transportation, demo transportation, and there's one more, what's the other one?
Sorted wood.
Sorted wood, I'm sorry, transportation.
Okay.
So, taking the money out of those proposed transportation fees would give him what he needs into the vehicle lease line
Mhm.
that's got $1 in it right now.
Okay.
And we would actually just take that money and move it to the vehicle lease line under the proposed budget. So it's not really changing the bottom line per se, but we're shifting it for clarity and transparency for the vote.
I think it'd be in the right direction if we went with the truck. Just by the cost
Mhm.
yearly.
Yearly costs.
All it too.
Oh, we signed a 7-year contract with these guys for a whole year.
I thought they were. I thought we could, different.
We can.
You can if
But
we
we,
ever-
we haven't heard from them
We
yet.
hadn't heard from, but.
We-
I didn't realize.
We had asked that question and it was,
Yeah, that's the seller, I haven't got.
the seller,
This,
and that's a longer haul too.
It is.
but who knows what, I mean, but no matter what, we still have this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we have a.
So what is the cumulative cost here? I mean, I guess I'm trying to get my head wrapped around, because it sounds like we're pulling from so many different,
Avenue.
yeah.
It's a
That,
little
you know,
confusing.
I understand that you noted that it's 60 something and. per year.
61,000, 650 was the total annual vehicle lease payment. So that was a one payment once a year, 61,650 for a 5-year lease. And then above that, I just threw a bunch of percentages and everything else in there, but that was just taking the money from respectively where it's generated from.
Right,
Sorted wood,
but it's
demo
not just the
transport.
cost of acquiring a truck.
Correct.
So we're gonna have to, you gotta factor in the cost of the driver.
Yep.
You gotta cover the cost of insurance because you're not just operating in town anymore. You gotta cover the fuel for that truck, which,
He already
The
covered.
fuel
it.
was already
Covered
added
in the
into
budget.
the.
That's in its
into
budget.
the, yes.
Your fuel budget. his
Public
fuel budget.
works
that's in the
fuel
fuel
budget. I
budget.
figured 5,200 gallons that truck would burn in a year.
so that goes under which budget?
So the fuel all comes out of the public works line, highways essentially.
Okay, so the equipment,
No, the equipment fuel in the solid waste budget is just for the equipment that stays up there. like,
Okay.
like the Bobcat skid steer and the loader and stuff like that.
Okay, so we're kind of blurring the lines as to, and I guess that's where I'm getting a little maybe frustrated is
all
too strong of a
departments-
word, but
all departments' fuels were merged into the public works line.
except for the equipment
That's at the solid waste
at
facility.
the solid waste facility.
Yeah.
We do have to keep.
Last
oh,
year, yeah. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to clarify. We do have to keep some equipment separate because solid waste and recycling have their own capital reserve. And because it has a distinctive, use, they can't buy, so DPW has an equipment capital reserve where they can buy their 10-wheelers, their 12, their excavators, things like that. And it just specifies DPW equipment. Solid waste and recycling specifies that it has to be for recycling. Because before we merged the umbrella of DPW, all these capital reserves were created individually for individual departments. So we've kind of had to work within those guidelines unless we take every capital reserve back to vote and have them vote to change the described use to something that's more. So the other thing that there's two separate budgets in play because the transportation costs for waste come all out of solid waste. And the cost of the truck would be out of the vehicle lease line, but the fuel, the maintenance and the driver all come out of DPW. And that's all already in that budget.
Some of them might, from what I could see, were added into the default because they were there in 23. And that's just how they got back into where they already were once before, Does that make sense? Did I say that right? When they were not scheduled to be in there, they weren't budgeted for in 24, but when it went default, a couple lines did get pushed back in because it was default budget and they were there before. So a lot of the things did get merged, and fuel, tires, all that stuff is now under DPW, which shows up under the highway operating numbers,
In trying to go through all these numbers, I know it's a lot, but is there somewhere in here, is there an overall savings per year that we may get based on purchasing this truck? Like what would the actual savings per year be? Have you figured that out with driver and all that stuff, what the savings would be?
I guess I haven't figured it out all over as one whole entire package. I know, Scott Hinman had used the numbers before in the past and he was somewhere around 61,000 for the numbers that he had. I haven't run it all up yet for the whole entire, tires, fuel, driver, yada, yada, no.
But you were looking also at $61,000 for the vehicle lease per year payment.
Yeah.
Coming out of these and taking that out of these line items that you specified.
Yeah.
The sorted wood, the demo.
So
Waste.
just so I'm clear, so the DPW budget, which the board already reviewed. And approved, includes an extra 50K to cover fuel.
It covers another 5,200 gallons. I don't know what that worked out to be. It's all in one. But yes.
Well, the vehicle fuel is up by $49,000.
Yes, vehicle fuel, yep.
So
240.
that's gonna is that gonna cover all of the fuel needed by DPW as well as
Yes.
this proposed?
Correct, yes, yeah. There was also a small increase in gasoline as well, because we're hauling styrofoam to Guilford once a week currently for their recycling, for recycling. So that was put in there as well.
So the preliminary savings would be $61,000 a year if we purchased the truck. Or leased it.
To lease it.
To lease it, to lease it, 61,650.
That's not the savings, that's the cost of the lease.
Oh, I
the
was
cost of
asking
the
what
lease.
I was asking, I know, I
You
see
wanna
that.
know what
That's why
the-
you said 61. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? So what's I just wanted to know what
Yeah,
what the average savings would be, a guesstimate of what the savings.
So
He
Rick,
said 61.
yeah, so,
Yeah, I
so
don't
Rick-
Same number.
Oh, it is the same.
It's the
Okay.
same numbers is what I was getting at.
Oh, I was like, are you pointing this? I'm like.
Well, I
So it
pointed
is
that,
61.
yeah, it's 61, but he's also said 61. That's why I asked that.
I got you. I got you. That's
But
why I got confused.
when they originally based those numbers on on what would the savings would be, that was before the
Yeah.
almost 50, or what was it, almost 100% increase in per cost that we're
Was it
gonna
the
end up,
249, 32?
that was off of that number and not the 455.
Would double, it'd be on.
Basically, it'd be pretty much double. It'd be almost about
$120,000.
$120,000.
A year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so if I can, so then we have calculated in how much for the drivers, I guess we're talking, or driver,
Yeah.
part-time, what is that roughly valued at per year?
It'd be that full-time
They're
position.
grouping three.
Three
Into one.
So roughly the cost impact, including all of the benefits and,
So all the benefits, so the salary alone was 52. 52,000.
Salary.
With the benefits on top of that and what we're figuring right around
75.
70, yes.
okay,
So 75 and then the 61.8 for the lease, 61.6.
650.
and then insurance,
Our insurance doesn't really go up per vehicle. We already, because yeah, our liability and stuff, insurance, it's basically a fleet coverage. I never see a variation per vehicle because we have so many. We just change our asset list basically.
Yeah.
And it fluctuates so much that it usually doesn't. We're based on, our pricing's more based on our group sort of liability. How
So there'll be-
many claims we have and things
so you're
like
saying
that.
there'll be little change in our insurance premiums, adding a $250,000 vehicle with comp, collision and liability? That's
Yeah.
a hell of a deal.
Now,
Mhm.
the other thing that's not a factor in here is actually a few more containers.
Correct.
Couple of, like two or three
Two
more
opens.
40-yard containers that
Correct.
right now Waste Management owns that we
Two.
can't use. So
Currently Waste Management has two 30-yarders up there that he's utilizing that.
So what are 240s, what's a 40
what are
cost?
those gonna cost?
We just bought 2 of those 40-yard dumpsters.
Yeah.
I know. Were those the shipping containers?
Shipping
Shipping
containers.
I'm sorry.
Those were shipping containers.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a cool, I want to say they were around 17,000 a piece.
Okay.
And
It's 30, so
17,600.
17. So
I'm sorry, they were these ones were 8,200 a piece. So-
8,200 a piece.
Yeah.
and those were 40s. So, so,
Which is better.
Yeah.
They're 30s now, so
So another 16.
another 16, yeah, another 16,000.
that's not bad.
No,
No, I'm just thinking for.
so it's nice to have our own containers too.
Yeah, and correct, and there is a lot of them already up.
Yeah.
A lot of them already up there, and he's keeps them in pretty good rotation as far as if they're done, they're done, you know.
Now, I'm not sure if it's in here and I haven't really seen it. What are you planning on for a vehicle, for the truck? What make, what model, what?
So, yeah, so ultimately, I'm looking at the body, 22-foot body, 60,000 pound hoist. That's what we're looking at.
Mhm.
Chassis wise, it could be on anything, but what I had originally priced out was a Volvo.
Mhm.
Volvo Mac is the same truck. I know that hurts some people's feelings. So. But that truck I did get a quote on, and it was just a quote. They had it on the ground and they gave me a price for it. It was $242.
Mhm.
And then so it was another 10 to make it a triax. So that's why I kind of was in that.
That's where you went to the 260 range.
Yeah, that was in that 260 range. That leaves us a little bit of money to get a radio in it, stuff like that. You know.
Was that pretty competitive price?
It
You
was,
think,
it was
with-
actually. I got a price out of a place in Florida, RDK, for a similar truck, and they were about 15,000 more on it. So in a triaxle configuration, so it was still under that.
Yeah,
It's right in the
I
right
did a
area.
little research myself today after we got the email and it's
Mhm.
about 260 to 280
Yeah.
seems to be the going.
Yeah, okay.
So,
That's not, chromed out Peterbilt or anything like that.
No.
That's a white truck with power windows, because they all come with it now. It's pretty much it, but yeah, so the body really is ultimately what?
Yeah.
2 feet,
Yeah,
6,000-pound hoist.
Now, we keep saying lease, but are we looking at a lease to own?
Lease
on
to
this?
own, lease to purchase at the
Okay.
end.
Lease to own.
And we own it for $1
Yeah,
at the
a
end.
dollar buyout at the end.
So,
What
now,
would- I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, according to my math, if at the proposed 2025 haul rates.
Yep.
We're gonna be about $110,000 hauling, and I did some crude math based on what I could decipher.
Yeah.
The real killer hits us in 2026.
26, correct.
And it's gonna jump to about 195,000.
Yeah.
Now, just based on what we've talked about on what the annual impact costs are, and not counting the 240-yard dumpsters, because that's just a investment.
Yeah.
But we're at about 190,000 a year.
Correct.
Is what it's gonna cost. So it's not gonna pay in 2025, I guess is my point, but starting in 26, that's when it's really gonna start.
Correct,
pay
yeah,
off.
I mean, as far as the cost, just the lease cost of the truck alone, yeah, in 25, we're gonna have to budget for that money anyways, to cover that.
Yeah.
It'll cover what we have regardless.
Okay, thanks.
What would you expect the life of the truck to be?
Keeping it's, a lot of it's honestly, weird term, highway miles, going in and out of the transfer, the landfill is definitely a rough environment. But I don't see a reason why that truck can't last 8 years.
Yeah, it's a tough
Yeah, I don't
environment,
think it's
especially if you,
Well,
You
I
know,
run my.
especially when you spend an hour and
I
a
mean,
half waiting
you don't
for
base it on mileage and condition of the vehicle. You say automatically just 8 years. You don't think. it could
Somewhere
go-
around there. I mean, you look at like
10.
our highway dump trucks and they get more abuse
They
than they
get
do
abused.
miles.
Yeah.
That truck would get more miles than it would abuse.
Right.
It's doing the role it's actually intended for, unlike a plow truck where you're pushing snow.
Right.
Salt, it could probably go a little longer than that, but I guess I'm being a little modest with 8. Very modest.
I'm on the CIP, I'm on the CIP, you know, so we bump those back.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, I mean, generally, the numbers suggest that it's the right thing to do. I guess I'm just a little bit slow at my age, and I'd be happier if I had a complete total breakdown on one sheet.
the simplified
was-
version for
So
all
it
of
was
us.
clear as opposed to, this comes from this fund, that one's from that fund, and
Yep.
this is 2028. And I'm not complaining or criticizing because I know it's a very complex issue. And maybe I'm the only one here that doesn't feel like he's quite got his arms around it.
Oh, I agree with you. I just would like, one number. I mean, we're throwing numbers back and forth.
A
but
good
one
breakdown.
number, driver, fuel, maintenance, all, one thing, this truck's gonna cost us X a year. If we had a truck that you picked out that was like, we were ready to go with it.
Yeah.
Exactly what it would be.
All broken out,
It doesn't,
even if it's,
Yeah.
a little bit more explained.
Yeah, I think, in addition to that, I mean, I think to have that comparative column or columns would be helpful too, to know that in 2023, we expended this much money on hauling
Mhm.
and this much money on disposal. In 24, same thing. And then anticipated 25, 26, going up through that 7-year, make you choke, because when I was just doing stupid, simple math,
Yeah.
I got the end of the 7th year, we're at, $268,000 just to haul.
Just in transportation.
I think we're pretty much all in agreement. This is probably a pretty solid plan to go forward with, just, where we're
I think
heading
so.
into budgets and everything else, just knowing exactly, all right, where it's gonna go up by this much, because we're gonna get a lot of questions about.
Oh, yeah,
that,
there'll be questions on
about
it
that truck.
and want to know how it was derived to have this, having our own vehicle. I know it was brought up once before,
Yeah.
a few years back. But I think I think it's the way of the future,
It
way to
is.
go.
We're gonna have to.
It kind of makes sense because these prices are not gonna go backwards. They're just gonna keep going up.
Absolutely.
It's like he had said, you're talking about 5% every year.
Yeah.
So at the end
Yeah.
of 7
Yeah.
years, woo.
So
Yeah,
just
a lot
to
of money.
enlighten me, Ryan, I mean, if we go through this process for the 2025 budget, voting, et cetera, we can start the ball rolling on this truck and be ready for halfway through 25?
Yeah, if the board's in agreement with this, after I'll help put that spreadsheet together with the comparisons for next meeting, but when you look at the numbers and you look at it, if the board was comfortable with the savings that it's gonna provide, those numbers we're not changing numbers that are already existing in the operating budget, so you could commit to starting to seek bids for a completed truck, because you know it's gonna take us months to get a truck. You could start that process and seek out the bids and award a bid and order a truck
Mhm.
without waiting until March, because all the funding that he's talking about is in the default budget. Nothing is a new proposal. It's just we're clarifying, like you said, you need the clarification as to where those lines are, where that money's coming from.
Yeah.
I get the
Revolving
We
comes
understand
in.
it, like,
Yeah.
you guys have played with the numbers and looked at everything and able to make this work, and we'd look kind of like to see that. Where it's coming from, how you're deriving to this decision. We're not disputing in any way.
Yep.
That truck, a new truck, and having a driver for that and new containers in this budget is a bad idea. I think we all think it's a good idea, but we'd like to have it a little bit better explained. But yeah,
Yeah, especially when we have to defend it to the public.
Sure,
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
That's what I was getting at in a roundabout way.
Gearing up for deliberative.
yeah, oh yeah, because we will get asked.
Absolutely. Solid plan, though. I mean, this is gonna be a truck that's gonna be more on-road than the rest of these.
Correct.
So I mean, it's
Yes.
gonna have to be something that you were talking longevity. It's gonna have to be something that, is gonna hold up. I know we were talking last time about recaps and about stuff like that. I mean, but we've never run recaps in the past. You talk about an on-road truck. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
we're gonna be under more scrutiny by state and, whatever.
Yeah, but Rika, it's just gonna.
Yeah.
It's not gonna feel so bad when we get flat tires when we go in there, is what it's gonna feel.
Yeah.
I know.
It's not buying
Those
6
transfer station.
No,
Yeah.
no.
That's the only thing. Yeah, with that truck being just down the highway, it's not like it's on 93 or 95.
Yeah. I was just getting that quality of truck is what I meant.
Gotcha.
So
Being able to rack the miles on it and
Yep.
still be.
you can spell out a truck that, and bring that to us as well as what you're thinking.
Yep.
The cost again, and a little bit more zero on, I know you said 260.
Yeah.
But it's being more specific on the vehicle. the
Just
body,
spec
the
out
frame, spec
exactly
out
what you want.
What it entails,
What we're gonna need.
right? So the people know what we're getting.
Yeah, fair enough. I can do that. And in the 8 years, again, getting back to that, the longevity of it is at what point do you get to a diminishing returns? And when you go to trade that truck in, do you want it to be worth nothing, or do you want it to have a good down payment for your next one is kind
Yeah.
of what I was getting at.
Yeah, I understand.
You hit a point where,
Why we get, look into what we can get for quality.
Mhm.
Yep.
What we're gonna have, what the driver's gonna have. I mean, he's gonna be in that truck a lot more than the plow guy.
Obviously, we like to see it, last as long as it can
yeah,
and
absolutely.
still get some sort of a return on it for a
Absolutely.
trade-in,
Yeah.
not just junk.
Yeah.
We
Obviously.
spend a little more on a different manufacturer if you think the longevity is gonna be there. we're
Yeah,
gonna
no,
call it.
that honestly would be my pick as
Yeah.
far as longevity and durability.
Right. Okay, so can we,
Yeah, we gotta do this budget.
hmm?
We gotta go through do this budget, right? Is that what we're doing next?
With the solid waste.
Solid waste, we'll table this till next meeting.
The whole
Cause we're,
budget?
because we're gonna
Yeah.
have to change those numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is probably gonna be the.
I thought you said,
same.
yeah.
It's gonna be the
Yeah.
same.
We're gonna
We're
table
moving
this.
enough money, but we're gonna be moving it from transportation lines to the other one.
If you guys all agree to that as a poll, I guess, if you will, I mean, has everybody in agreement that we should give them a little bit more time to our next meeting to have this explained a little bit, so a little easier to understand, a little easier for us to explain.
That works.
Yes.
Thank you. you very much. Good job. Okay. Next.
Next one, so on the, going to the budgets on the table,
Mm-hmm.
none of these are in your book. These are the ones that are paper clipped on the table.
The ones I already, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll start with, insurance. That's 4196. No, this one's insurance.
Here it is. Thanks, Seth.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, Seth.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
Have a good evening.
I'll get with you.
Used to be.
Well, I'll talk to Laura.
Used to be.
We can make it into a
With Scott
per
on the
line
people.
item and stuff, but I know what they're looking for, so.
So this is insurance.
So the insurance, I wanted to, just to, Drew's point earlier. Like if you look at line 278 is property and liability insurance. That's everything, all our buildings, coverage, our vehicle liability, everything. So the way our insurance works, in the public sector as a pool, we're in a insured pool through Primex. If you look at the attached sheets, these are the numbers I was waiting for Primex to give us today. So those actually tell us what our calendar year contributions are and what they're going up for the entire year. So throughout that year, I swap vehicles, we trade vehicles in, we sell vehicles. Same thing if we ever get in, if we have building damage or whatnot. We're always fluctuating what the town owns for properties and assets. And it doesn't change our rate for the year. It doesn't come into play till the following year. And that's more based on our claims at that point in time as to how big the risk is, let's put it that way, if if claims go up or down. And it talks about, you can see the taxable wages, the loss ratio, the unemployment ratio, contributions. And that one was for the unemployment. I'm sorry, I was looking at unemployment. but-
Unemployment, yeah.
But the last page is for the, property and liability.
Here it is.
Yeah. So then you have your loss ratio adjustment factor, change in loss, -2. So we do pretty good on our property and liability this year. We didn't have a lot. Still went up 9%, but overall it went up 13 grand. With the cost of vehicles and the replacement cost, that's not actually too bad considering the number of vehicles and equipment we own. So this budget, gentlemen, is based on all those numbers that were given to us today. We don't have a choice unless we can find another insured company, but there's really no other. We'd have to go to some other type of privately insured because a local government center, I think was what we had years ago, and that's all, they're done now. Then we went to Primex is pretty much predominantly what all municipalities belong to right now is through Primex.
I think we looked into it a few years ago.
Yeah, we've never been able to save any money by changing. The pool, it's basically you're as good as your own history, tracking history, you know what I mean? In that sense, so. The overall increase, with the numbers given to us, was roughly $22,000, $21,000.
Okay. Well, I guess
And
this
it's-
is one of those we can't really change too much.
I mean, it jumped up a little bit with the workers' compensation and the property liability.
Well, I guess this, all right. I'll make a motion. We accept the 2025 insurance operating budget in the total of $344,929.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go to benefits next. So on benefits, again, I attached on the back. This is the interlocal trust, which is talks about our final and overall renewal rate for our health and benefits. So it's an overall rate is 8%, 8.02. And I will say, just to put things in perspective, 8% isn't great. But they took a query on the municipal manager's survey this morning because Health Trust, which is who we used to have, came out with their rates today. And on average, the community suffered an 18 to 19% increase in 1 year. So it's 10% more than what we experienced, more than 10% than what we've experienced with Davison or with Interlocal Trust. Davison Toll being our agent and Harvard Pilgrim being our carrier. And then, of course, there's the other thing along the benefits, you got FICA, Medicare, medical and dental is really what changes. The other rates change based on, what we're told, especially when it comes to the retirement system. New Hampshire retirement has different rates, employer contributions, based on whether it's a group 1 plan, a group 2. The rates also differ between police and fire versus, obviously teachers and, the school does the teachers, but you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Regular group 1 employees, the other office admin staff. Each year they have different increases and they're usually opposite each other. The other thing is they run on a fiscal year. So in this year, we're actually going to have a half year where the rates are lower half the year versus the rest, which kind of gives us a break on the retirement system this year a little bit.
Is that reflected in these numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, we don't have a lot of.
No, unfortunately, the big increases are, we're obligated, all of our positions we're obligated to provide New Hampshire retirement. They're contributing positions and health and dental, we don't have control over that. Takes about 2 years to vet a new company and change. We went through that once.
I will make a motion. We accept the 2025 benefits operating budget. $2,796,789.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Can we go to water now?
Yep.
And I did ask, I called Courtney about an hour before the meeting to let her know that the numbers that we were waiting on finally came in, because she has benefits in her budget separate. And she was out of the area, couldn't get back fast enough, but I told her I was gonna bring it to the board, and if the board has any questions that I can't answer. I looked at the numbers and I think you're gonna agree that the numbers are very, very good, considering I think she has less than a $3,000 increase. Overall. So I'll go through it, and if the board feels they have questions for Courtney, she'd be happy to answer them. She's available by phone, she told me, but we can always table it if we need to. Really, the big changes in her budget, when you look at it, is wages, wages again. But you see that that's offset quite a bit because Courtney, when she took over her position, absorbed the administrative part-time position at that $20,725. Obviously, health and dental went up a little bit because that's reflected in those rates that we just went over for the town. New Hampshire retirement's up a little bit with the wages. That's all reflects wage changes.
Right.
Going down through it.
I'm looking at line number 601. That's a reduction by $10,000. What's that? What is it? What is that main expense? What does that mean?
That's water main.
Oh, the water main.
Yeah, water main expense. And I will go to her, I know she had a reduction in it because she has, she has a capital reserve for it. and also, that they've done so many replacements over the last 3 years, 4 years that, the need for large, like I said, she has a capital reserve on big emergencies, but the daily need for repairs have decreased significantly. I just want to see what she has for
Yeah.
justification in there.
How did the other one would be the electricity? Looking at the
Drastic
reduction and how did that get so drastically drop?
As much.
So the electricity was, so you gotta remember when we went to default.
Yeah, so that was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years. What happened is, remember that massive increase? They talked about 27% or something like that.
Yeah.
We all ended up having to go off of that. And the increases didn't hit municipal services as greatly as it did. Because of our uses, I guess, is what they explained. Either that, I think they just misquoted it to us
Okay.
going forward, but. We had all significantly reduced our electricity for 24, but when we went to default, it went back to the previous numbers.
And they're still working on the meter program.
Yes.
What's the percentage of meter program has been completed, you think?
So what's the percentage?
Yeah, of the town meters that have been replaced.
Oh. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head as far as real accurately. I know that they're running down to the last few. They've been going really well with it, and really they're just trying to hit some of the areas that have been more problematic. And you know, people that try to get in and are. Yeah, either people out of the area or struggling to.
To get into
a
their,
time,
yeah, get a time to get into their property and change it, yeah. Well, I think overall budget is pretty good considering, I mean. Only a difference of around $3,000.
Yeah.
Um,
Brian, do you know, under some of the categories like benefit, or I'm sorry, health and dental,
Mhm.
their justification says rates are based on the 2023 budget? Would she know which?
What she's saying is that, the rates for those lines currently budgeted are default. So because they're default, they were based on rates set by the health company in 23.
Right, understand.
Okay.
Okay. So the rates that she's showing for her budget now are based on current costs. Yeah.
Yes, basically she was trying to clarify a 2-year jump.
I got you. Thank you.
If we can jump back to line 303, the electricity, she's asking for $22,000 and she has already spent that this year.
Part of the thing with the electricity, I think too, was, remember we went through that change with the pump house? Because the pumps actually, because going to the tower, they used to have, they were having problems with that. That was utilizing a lot more electricity. They've since done improvements and repairs. I think that has reduced the usage out of that area.
Okay.
Because they were having constant run times for a while there when that alarm system was broken. The pumps and the wells were running constantly.
Okay, because just in the month of September, you expended $4,000.
Is there a year-to-date line there?
Yeah, the year to date is 22,000 against the budget of 39,500. So basically we spent 10% of the entire budget in 1 month of September.
Yeah, he's 303. That's where he is. Yep.
I wonder if they happen to get 2 utility bills that month.
Well, I'm wondering if the wells are being paid in in quarters versus monthly. But let me get to my expenditure report. I'm just trying to find out on my expenditure report.
Yeah, that's what I was. I just don't want to shortchange yourself.
Nope, I understand.
Yeah, because that's quite a reduction
Mhm.
for the electricity.
This is gonna go good. Then, I don't remember.
Just talking.
Phone in the front.
Getting in touch with Courtney.
I'm just gonna ask her
Yeah.
if there's a simple explanation for it.
Sure there is. 'Cause I spotted that right off too. The other one is the anticipated hire, new hire.
That's not a new position though. That's just a replacement for Amelia.
That's replacement.
Yeah, that's not we're not adding any positions.
Yeah, but is that number gonna change based on? I mean, that's not gonna be a current rate, is it? Is that gonna be a current rate for a new hire?
Yeah, because she was, well, it would probably be lower, to be honest, depending on where it's at this time. But you gotta remember Amelia was here for a few years.
Yeah.
So she wasn't at the low level, the entry level. But the default remains. That position, because it's an approved position, remains in the default budget. It's not a newly added one.
Okay.
I have a problem wrapping my head around that one, Ryan. So. After you're done with that.
He's finding out about the
Yeah, I know.
electricity right now.
I'm sorry, what are you saying? You're having a hard
No,
time
the,
wrapping your head around
the
what?
wage, the full-time wages goes from 2024 to 2025 at 232, 696 to 266, 623.
Yep.
And when you go to breakdown, it has the current rates of everybody employed with that new hire at 39, 665. Right? So that's isn't that that increase? 30 something? Do you see am I wrong? I think I might be wrong in my math here.
What do you mean
Hold on. I think I might have done something wrong before I opened my mouth. Yep, never mind. That's 33,000, not 39,000.
You get it for the Courtney. And she did the numbers on the electricity, so she must know.
I know a lot of places jumped down because when we went through the grounds of maintenance, most of the buildings jumped down in electricity. Town hall was significant too. But I understand that if there's one expenditure in 1 month
Right.
for $11,000,
Yeah.
then
Something was wrong.
yeah, I gotta find out. Maybe she wasn't paying her bills on time. She'll watch this later and be upset with me. But if I don't hear anything in a minute, we can move on to.
Yeah,
So maybe we should wait till.
you know, to let her come in and explain it.
Yeah, I don't want.
Let's we'll move on. Why don't we move on and let her, we'll wait till next time and have Courtney come in You guys all right with that?
Yeah.
Sounds good, yeah, we
Alright.
got, plus gives us a chance to look at this.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the next one.
Yep, she needs to look at it because she wrote 11K bill in September question mark. So
Yeah, let her look into it and.
I thought it was it $4,000 in?
$4,000 just for the month of September that's
For that
shown
1 month.
as
Yeah.
that period
Not
expenditure.
11, 4.
oh, 4.
4, not 11, yeah. Get one more budget here.
Yes, household,
Household
hazardous
hazardous
waste.
waste.
Yep.
I just was looking at it, I'm like,
I'm like, where did you get that from?
Yeah. And I flipped it and read it.
You guys see that? See another one? Household hazardous waste.
Yep. One seems very reasonable to me.
Yeah. So household hazardous waste, going through that. There is, sorry. Oh. Okay. Dues and fees. So, really the significant thing, keep in mind, when you look at the breakdown, you see the operating budget's 104,332. Well, we split that and it's not a 50-50 split with Wolfboro. So our portion is 31,3 on the first page.
Yep.
That's what the breakdown is 31,3. Last year was 27,568. And then you get the breakdown right here on the spreadsheet. The next line in, there's a spreadsheet shows you Alton's 30% and Wolfboro's 70%.
I remember that from last year.
So the biggest issue is a contract issue with Clean Harbors.
Yeah.
Because we're in default, we have 2 percentage changes from 24 and 25 that were contractual. That we had to abide by, even though we weren't fully funded for it, so. They've taken care of it this year, but that jump is, due to the significant increase in the Clean Harbors contract. Which Clean Harbors is our disposal company. There's no hazardous waste program without Clean Harbors. We did do, the board, myself, Dick was part of that as well. Sought out, different contracts from different vendors before we signed a new contract. The board had signed it earlier this year. And by far Clean Harbors still maintain the lowest rate.
Plus they have the great advantage of being very reliable and thorough.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other questions?
I will make a motion, we accept the hazardous waste program. Operating budget of $31,300 for the 2025 season.
For the
Second.
town,
For the town of Alton portion.
Portion, yes. Thank you. Who's second?
I did.
I get just a quick question. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just a little slow tonight, but we've got wages went up a modest amount, and that's fine. But as I look at workers' comp, it's like 1/4 of what it was.
They probably changed the allocation.
Where do you see, where's workers' comp?
Line 277
277, yep,
went from
480.
1120 to 480.
480, yep.
Oh, you know what? Some of that probably is attributed to, mind you, that the other one, the default is on for 23, but what's changed since then is we don't do medicine collection anymore. So we have several less volunteers and employees that have to be covered under our assurances, because we used to have what they call survey takers and the pharmacists to identify for the drug collection. We no longer take controlled drugs at the takebacks anymore. So that reduced several significant costs, because we used to have to pay for the 2 police officers at every location, detail rate, because of the drugs. It made no sense, because both Wolfboro and Alton now have drug take-back containers in their lobbies. So 24 hours, or I shouldn't say 24, 7 days a week, when you can get into the lobby, you can dump your drugs at any point in time in those bins and walk away. So there's no reason to wait for a take back anymore.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
So we still have a second on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. I think that's all the budgets this evening.
Oh, I got clarification if you do want to go back to the water one,
Okay.
because Laura just chimed in. She must be watching me.
Oh, okay.
Laura said, so the water light bills were not paid in July, so she had to double up and pay them in full on the credit card.
Right.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why, there was an abnormal expenditure in September.
Okay.
It was,
Okay.
but,
Thank you, Laura.
yes, but she did say that, in the current balance that's due for the year, she still has plenty of money, to make her normal payments.
Okay.
Not the bulk payment, but normal payments moving forward.
All right. Well, in that case, I'll make a motion to accept the proposed budget for the water department for 2025 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just for the record, the presented amount is $541,430.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Courtney, for getting back to us.
Courtney
And
and Laura for
and
the,
Laura.
for the save.
For the same. Okay,
Right, I don't.
that's it
And
for,
Laura for the
That's
W.
it for
budgets.
budgets, yeah.
Okay. Selectmen reports. Drew.
So the budget committee met last week, went through, we covered about 13 items previously, forwarded on from the Board of Selectmen. Really no issues, or not a lot of discussion on anything except for the patriotic that they wanted to increase. So,
Okay,
yeah, that's about it.
okay. Did they give you an idea as to what they wanted to increase?
Oh, yeah. How'd I know you were gonna ask me that?
Was another 20,000.
Yeah, it was 22 or
It was.
something like that.
Was it?
Another $20,000?
Yeah. It was, I'm sorry, it's actually, they wanted to increase from the 21,190 to a total of 33,990 to make sure that we have covered, any prepayments that need to be done.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
it,
the budget committee felt that they wanted to fund both fireworks in full
in full.
in the year, so in 23 and 24. We have to secure our position, so we were prepaying one of the fireworks displays. So the budget reflected only one display. When I explained to
Right.
them the cost moving forward through our company for 4th of July and the 2 expenses, the actual cost is what they raised it to. The actual full amount.
Thank you. Was there anything else in your report? Okay.
That's it.
Dick.
Milfoil's wrapped up for the year, and hazardous waste is pretty much done as well. So we have nothing of consequence to report.
Andrew?
I have nothing at this time.
The planning board had its meeting last week. Cherry Valley got, postponed. And that's not too much going on there. A couple more, short-term rentals, but, the ZAC committee meeting was canceled last night, rescheduled today.
Okay, and what I've got is, a letter was sent to me from the New Hampshire DOT. And this was referring to the Main Street Alton Bay Bridge. The engineering and environmental studies they have done, you guys are looking at that now, right? What they want to know is if the Board of Selectmen have any concerns and anything they'd like to add and contribute to, the engineering and process of this and looking at to determine what the project needs for mitigation or any other concerns. I actually had my concern is traffic, how it's going to be handled. I'm also concerned with the drainage and the firehouse, how that will be treated and handled. And the Meeting River coming into Lake Winnipesaukee, what kind of process they'll do to protect that. I mean, those are some of my questions. I don't know if anybody else would like to add to that. We can contact DOT and let them know our concerns. If that's enough for you guys, we can do that. And to say those are some of our focused areas. We like to have, traffic's gonna be big. And whether or not they're gonna do a full bridge replacement, or are they going to do a repair? Or rebuild?
So I guess ultimately the question is what does happen to the traffic? I mean, no matter what, it's not a terribly large bridge, so
Mm-hmm.
even if they're gonna do a rebuild, I don't see how they could keep a lane open. Are they gonna put up a temporary
They would have to
bypass
do
bridge?
something temporary.
Yeah,
If they do a full bridge replacement, they'll have to do some sort of temporary bridge. And it would have to involve, I would imagine, one of the marina, the marina on the right.
yeah. Yeah,
So if you guys would like, we could send them some of these questions and maybe have them come in like they did last time. That went really well.
This, yeah, just to clarify, this isn't for DOT. This is for, the contact is for Normandy Associates.
Yes, Normandy. Yes.
Environmental.
Yes.
I don't think, I think for sure,
Mhm.
contacting them with the concerns about the Meeting River,
Mhm.
how it's gonna be handled and the drainage concerns around the firehouse.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to what the traffic plan is and the actual replacement, I don't think DOT has a plan. The last time I talked to them, they haven't come up with anything yet. I think, yeah, no, I know it
I
was
know it was,
misleading.
I
yeah.
understand who actually sent the letter, but this is still addressed, I mean, basically from DOT.
Mhm.
yeah, and they are asking for our input on
That's right.
potential impacts for environmental, social, economic, cultural resources, et cetera. And
Right.
I agree that, this is a economic and cultural resource.
That's right.
Mhm.
And we should give our comments.
Oh, absolutely. I just didn't know if, I don't think when you said invite them here, I thought you were talking about DOT. Wanna
No,
invite their
not necessarily. We
consultant.
could, Namandu Associates, if they wanted to come to explain their, their concerns. Yeah, I don't think that's necessary. But if we at least tell them what
no,
our
yeah.
concerns.
Oh, no, I'll write them with
Okay.
whatever you'd like me to write with.
Yeah, that's
with that,
basically
yeah.
it. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, it would be very concerned of how the Meeting River into Lake Winnipesaukee would be handled for mitigation purposes.
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind doing that, I know you were CC'd in this as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no,
So,
absolutely.
all right, good. Anything else on that? Anyone?
Can we solicit input from department heads?
Could do that as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, why not?
conservation obviously would be a great
Conservation.
contributor.
Yeah, it was sent to,
I think it was sent to
it
them.
was sent to Planning Board, Historical Society,
was.
Conservation Commission and the Selectmen.
Mhm.
But I can send it to,
Just
I could send it out to, department, the individual department heads.
for any comments. At least they'll know what we're thinking about it. I mean, they've been talking about it for 5 years now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all for selecting the reports. It'd be, town administrator report.
I don't have anything this evening.
Okay. Wow. All righty.
Moving right along.
Move along.
Moving on. Approval of October 8th, 2024, public session.
Can I go back to the administrator for a second?
Sure.
I had three quick questions. One, we got a letter from a resident who asked if it was possible to relocate a waste dumpster down in Alton Bay area so that it wasn't immediately adjacent to one of the handicap parking lots. And sounded like a reasonable request. I mean, I didn't go down there and look, but I wonder if we can explore that and do it if it's feasible.
I'm sorry, we did, I sent that to DPW already. I agree with you. I think it was a minor and reasonable request. It was just placed there out of convenience, I think, at the time. So I went ahead and Stacy had forwarded it down to Seth for a relocation plan. So
Okay.
I should have noted that with a sticky on there, but
Any kind of a go-forward plan schedule for the walk shop project at all? I know we said we were gonna go ahead and do it.
Pretty much when they have time.
But I didn't know if we had any kind of established schedule.
Pretty much when they have time. They're working on their fall projects and things and completing their summer projects. And when they have time to go down there, if they can before the ground starts to freeze, I think that would be in the plan.
I thought Joan had said she wasn't gonna open till the spring anyway. Didn't Joan say that?
Yeah, as far as actually opening. the
Yeah.
thing.
It's gonna open when we open it. When,
June.
basically, when we have it ready. It can't operate until we have it graded, set, the container's set, it's safe, there's signage, there's basically fencing.
Yep.
And all that. So once that's all done and it's proven to be safe and ready to go at that point. But,
Yeah, they were just waiting for a break in the schedule.
yep, that's it.
Okay, and then the last thing, in reading the Baysider, there was a letter in there soliciting funds for a welcome sign for Alton, with instructions that checks be made out to the town of Alton and mailed to Stacy Bailey. And I know we went through all the reasons why the town could not collect contributions for programs. So I don't know if this is a mistake or there's a special consideration.
no, there was this is a different type of clarification. So this is, I don't know if you remember, like 4 meetings back that we got, this request was brought in from, this was a follow-up from deliberative session. So the warrant article that the board had brought forward for the Welcome to Alton sign, it got turned down, but the comments at deliberative session, I think Ruben was one of the selectmen that got down on the floor and spoke and saying that it really, the emphasis was it really should be funded through donations, the sign versus through taxation. So then it further got carried recently with, I can't think of her name, Ruth Arsenault came in, brought photographs. They had donors already that had gone through, so
She's
As-
the one that wrote this letter.
yes,
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying is that it was already established through, and that was already established through an escrow account that the town has control over.
So we can establish an escrow account for some purpose and people can contribute to it.
Well, they contribute, they can bring it through, the board has to establish it. The board has to be agents to expend.
Mhm.
So the difference is they want to expend money on projects that they want to expend money on. And they don't like the groups, several different groups that have come up recently, don't like the idea that the board controls every donation. So if you bring $50 in and they donate $50, even though the group might want to spend, might be trying to save up $2,000 for a new Connex box, the board can make the determination at any point in time to spend that $50 to fund a light bill or electrical bill. So that was the real catch to that whole thing. It's not whether or not we can collect money or not collect money, it's a hassle. But the issue is with the sign, the board it was already established and agreed upon that the board has the ultimate control as to what type of sign is purchased, what we move forward with, and how it's ultimately funded and controlled. The other requests I've had, they want us to act as the collecting agency. But they want to be the expending authority. You get what I'm saying? They don't go hand in hand. By our auditing laws, the Board of Selectmen is the ones that will control those funds. So my recommendation to both of these groups was, if you're taking in small donations for a common goal, have an individual or a person or an account to take it all in. Then bring it to the town in one amount saying, we want the town to accept these $2,000 for this purpose. And as part of that accepting process in the public hearing, then they accomplish their goal. They are allowed, not only does the town accept the funds, but you're also accepting them for a specialized, designated purpose. I'm sorry. I might just be talking around in circles, but I hope that made sense to you, that it's a different scenario.
Thank you.
I don't.
You don't?
I'm sorry, I don't get it.
Okay.
Because if you're saying that right now, due to a decision made at deliberative session, that the town is collecting individual donations toward a welcome to Alton sign, for which the board will have the ultimate deciding decision on what it looks like, how big it is, exactly where it's located. And not only that, but I suppose spend that money somewhere else if the need comes. Is that what I heard?
No, when it's established and supported, so the suggestion came through conversation at deliberative session. The funding portion of the whole sign got turned down. It got brought back up and brought back to the board as to whether or not they wanted to support the continuance of the sign through Ruth Arson. A while back. She's since been coming in with designs and whatnot, but the town, the Board of Selectmen still has to determine, one, what the overall cost is going to be, and two, what that design is to get an overall cost. The difference is the groups that have come up say, we want to raise $2,000 to
Well, I
put a
want
new
to
door.
stick to the sign just so I can fully understand that application, if
Okay.
we can. But we are accepting individual donations here at the town that's going into an escrow fund for that sign.
Yes.
And we're doing that because the board said, yes, we will do that.
Yeah, we're going to support that,
So,
the project.
so why could those same parameters, why can't those be applied to the swap shop and say, fine, have your donation sent into the town, but ultimately the board decides what that money is going to be spent on, exactly how.
You can do that if you
Can be
want.
the same thing.
Okay.
But what I'm
So I
saying is
misunderstood that a few weeks back when we were having this meeting. I thought, period, no, we cannot accept donations, end of conversation.
so let me take that out a little bit further though, because the same conversation came up with the Friends of Parks and Rec. Well, the $300,000 playground.
Yes.
Now we take that, and the other thing is what I've heard, some of these elaborate plans for the swap shop. The concern is they want to raise money over a period of time then have it expended for a certain purpose. And I explained to him the dangers with that and what has happened before, because come March, somebody's seat in here may not be the same, or two seats. And when you get into larger projects that are pointed in a certain direction, I've seen them get turned around and the money spent for something else. So that nothing upsets a group more than a long-term fundraising effort to turn around and have the decisions with those funds be used for something completely different. Now, let me clarify that if there's an account set up for the swap shop or an account set up for a sign, that doesn't mean we can go buy or, go build a new bathroom with the money, okay? Something completely off topic. What I'm saying is the money's for the swap shop. Just using examples from Joan and other members that are involved in that. Some want to cut new windows in the side of the thing, they want to establish a heating system or power. And they were originally trying to raise somewhere in the idea of $4,000 to $5,000. The only different concept with the sign right now is the fact that there's a long-term funding effort for a sign, but there's no defined sign. When we get to a point where it's physically possible to purchase, then the board at that time,
To make that
literally,
decision.
there was out of all the talk of the fundraising, I think we've only taken in 2 donations anyways. So I have a feeling that this is going to be again, another long-term funding source.
So I'm clear. The recommendation then would be that if individuals want to raise funds for and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, a pet project, it's best for them to do it all on their own, outside of the town, create this escrow account all on their own, and then come to the town with the lump sum and say,
Yes.
we would like you to have this and
Yes.
expend it specifically for these items here.
Yes.
Okay.
You got it. That's exactly right.
Because that's what I talked to this group in particularly, the swap shop. I spoke to a few members personally on the phone. And that was exactly what I suggested was the best way for what they were presenting for that reason. Because they had a certain goal and they had individuals that they were going to collect money from, small amounts. And maybe some larger donors, but mainly it was small amounts. But in order for them to be clear or to feel secure that the money's being used for what they're representing to their donors, that was exactly what I suggested to them.
Yes.
Gather the smaller amounts into one large amount that you can afford, like a quote or something. Because a lot of times, like people come in, Jill Hauser came in, I think it was last year or year before, with a donor who donated a tree for thing. They had the money for the tree. They brought in a quote from the nursery for the tree and said, I would like the town to accept X amount of dollars as a donation for the purchase of this tree that I'm providing you a quote for.
It's specific.
Yeah, and it ties everything together and makes it formal.
But
Thank
you
you.
have-
That
you have
helps a
exactly-
lot.
I'm sorry.
You understand.
I do. And hopefully if anybody's watching,
Mhm.
Yes, well, that's.
they got the
understand
clear
that
message too.
That's why it's so important. Everything has to, all the ducks have to be in a row. And then it makes sense to make a donation at that time, once they, to accept, for the board to accept. Once something is ready to be done.
Got
And if they held that money and they keep accumulating that money in an account, now they have something that they can present.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Back to, need a motion to accept
We'll
the,
make a motion. We accept the
Minute.
October 8th, 2024 public session minute.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Drew abstains.
Okay, consent agenda. We don't have one, do we?
No?
We do?
No.
No, okay. Okay, we have no requests. For appointments. I don't see anyone for public input. So we'll go right into. I make a motion to enter into a non-public meeting per RSA 91-A:3(2).
Second that.
We gotta do.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna, yes, sir. I'm
Yeah.
gonna,
Drew,
this would
Drew
be
agrees.
under I, under I. I'm sorry, L. Under L.
Nick? I don't know what to
Okay.
do.
Drew, yes.
Yeah.
Andrew, yes.
Nick, yes.